Hello everyone and welcome back to Abundantly Minimal. My name is Sarah and today we are talking about the dreaded clutter creep. Basically when you have goals in mind for how you're going to declutter or you establish something as a decluttered space, but that clutter creeps right back. How do we stop that? There are 3 mistakes that most people are making when they end up with clutter creep, and we're going to work through those today and offer some solutions. Before we get into these 3 mistakes, it's important to understand where this clutter creep comes from. And there's a great quote I want to bring up here, which I believe is from James Clear. I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but the idea is we don't rise to meet our goals, we fall to our systems or our habits. So it's not about setting these amazing goals for yourself. It's about being realistic with yourself and making sure that what you're doing is lazy proof or being just easy so that you can do it even when you're feeling lazy and it's easily able to be maintained even if you don't feel like organizing or doing anything elaborate. How can we break this down to the most basic, simple level so that you can maintain your systems? The first mistake people are making that causes clutter creep is when your systems are too concealed. They're involving too many steps to put something away, and you can't get to something as quickly and easily as you'd like. Let's talk about paper clutter from mail, for instance. If you have, a really established and really detailed filer that you have to open up, file through the right place to put the paper where it belongs, that seems like it might be too complicated. And if that was me, I might be tempted to just set the paper on a surface. However, could there be a different tray that is used that doesn't require you to open anything and you can just put the piece of paper where it belongs with no other steps? That would be a great way to simplify it and prevent extra steps from preventing you from putting your stuff away. Here's an example from my own personal life. We have a toolbox. And I like it. It's cool. But if I'm getting out one of our most frequently used items, I don't want to have to open it up and put it back where it belongs. It's just too much effort. So what do? I just set it on top of the toolbox. But that's not really a good option. That's not really very organized. So we found just a different organizer, or a little container, I guess. It's not really a organizer, but just a different container that has no lid on it and it fits nicely on top of the toolbox, and we put our most frequently used items in there so that we don't have to actually open up the toolbox and find what we need in there. We've got a set place for them, but it helps us overcome laziness and not leave these random items out. So what systems in your space could you adjust so that it becomes easier for you to put some of these things away and the items themselves are not too concealed that they require too many steps to get to? Mistake number 2 is if your drawers or organizers are too full. I think this is a great thing to think about with clothing. Imagine that you have a dresser and one of the drawers is so packed full of stuff that number 1, it's hard to put anything back. Number 2, you can't really find what you're looking for. And number 3, just wedging these things into the drawer is not really treating these items right and helping them maintain their quality and not, just looks very wrinkly. So if I, for instance, was in this situation and I had a very packed drawer, I don't want to put things back in that drawer. It's unpleasant. So where am I going to set it? Maybe on top of the dresser. Maybe just throw it somewhere else. And guess what? You're ultimately then having some clutter creep. So this is where decluttering can be so important. Let's identify these different areas where it's so packed full of stuff and let's remove what we can. Try to remove some of these items from your space in general or reflect about if there's a better way that you can organize and store what you have. To use an example from our kitchen, there used to be a shelf, or a cabinet I should say, where we had too many kitchen appliances and it was playing a game of Tetris to try to put things back in the right way so they fit and that they wouldn't fall out. However, guess what? I didn't want to deal with using any of those because they were a mess. We've since switched things so that each shelf of that particular cabinet has its own appliance. It is effortless to put back. So our food processor, for instance, we use it a lot more now because it's easy. You reach up, you grab it, and when it's done, you can just you clean it and you can put it right back in that exact spot. No stacking required. It's just easy. The cabinet's not too full anymore, so we put things away when we use them. So we've talked about when something's too concealed, we've talked about when something's too full, and we've got one more left to talk about. But before we do, I am excited to share that I have a very short-term little birthday half-price sale I'm offering. It's my birthday this week, so I am doing a little incentive on my Better with Less course. I'm actually offering it for half price this week only. And with this, my Better with Less course is the full decluttering program you could ever want. We cover any type of major clutter that you might experience, giving you the tools to help you do that and help you work through these belongings, help you develop that decluttering toolkit and mindset that you need, actionable strategies, support, and it's a really lovely program with videos and worksheets and a lot of different tools that you can use to be successful, all for half price this week. So I'll leave the details below. You don't need a coupon code or anything. I just dropped the price in half for this, and on Sunday night at the end of this week, the course will go back to full price. So just want to let you know that is available if you are interested. And this is by far the lowest price I have ever offered this course, at least this particular version of the course, since I first launched my very first version, which was definitely not as good back in 2019 as the one it is now. To close out our video here, the third and final cause of clutter creep is when surfaces are too cluttered. I call this the domino theory. Basically, if you have perfectly clean surfaces and you set something down, let's say a cup on the surface, it's very noticeable that there's a cup there. But what if we just keep adding stuff to the surface and the surface just now has 5 things on it? What if then eventually it has 10 things? When there's more on a surface, for whatever psychological reason, we don't actually notice that it's cluttered as much. We sort of become clutter blind to it in a way. And we're not as likely to realize there's a problem until it's gotten really out of hand. I find this to be true, for instance, in like the bathroom counters, for instance. We have normally like the soap and a couple things that do stay out, but otherwise, it's pretty noticeable if I've left something out from earlier, like the toothpaste, or if I was doing a video and my makeup is still out. But if we don't have too much out, it's easy to say, oh, oops, I left this out, let me put it away. But if we allowed this clutter to build up, you're much more likely to just keep adding things to it and not put away your stuff because, well, it's already cluttered. There's already stuff out. What difference does it make if I add one more thing? Until you've got a really cluttered counter, surface of any sort, and it really needs some attention. So I want to encourage you, can you address the surface clutter in your space and take a look at these surfaces and see, can you remove any of these items? Maybe you found clutter creep accumulating in your own space, on your kitchen counters, for instance, if you didn't put something away. Maybe it's on a coffee table. Maybe it's on your nightstand. It can happen without us realizing this. This is often choices we are making, not very consciously, just based upon habits. If we can start removing some of the surface clutter on these areas, we're much more likely to keep this area clean because we'll notice what we're adding to it. So I encourage you to give any of these strategies a try and hopefully help prevent clutter creep or allow yourself to maintain these decluttered spaces that you worked so hard to get to. If you enjoy this video, I've got a lot of other decluttering videos, even a decluttering surface challenge, which might be helpful, like we mentioned from that last topic. I will leave those linked here. And if you are new to the channel, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. You can subscribe right up there. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.